In this video, I'll demonstrate how to enter hi-hat, both open and closed and pedal hi-hat, in Dorico. This is appropriate for all versions of Dorico, the free version SE, Dorico Elements, and Dorico Pro. There is one instance that I will reference a Dorico Pro only option, and I will call that out when that happens. Let's begin by looking at an excerpt from a book called The Guide to Standardized Drumset Notation by Norman Weinberg. In this section where he talks about open and closed hi-hat, he includes this example. The hi-hat is played with the hands and also played with the foot. The foot is indicated with an X below the staff. The stick version of playing the hi-hat with the sticks is placed above the staff. The O marking is to indicate open. That's a playing technique in Dorico. Now, Weinberg mentions that it is common to put pluses over notes. However, they're not needed on every closed note. Drummers are aware that if it's labeled hi-hat, they know that without anything, it's typically a closed hi-hat. I like to add a plus to indicate that, but it's a visual reference only. To add a drum set in Dorico, create a new project and include the drum set, or add it to an existing project. In this case, I need to add it. Go to the upper left of the window and click Setup Mode. If the player's panel is not open, click the disclosure arrow. To add a player, go down to the bottom of the Players menu and click Add Single Player. Here, type the word drum, and you'll see the two options, Drumset Basic and Drumset Full. Basic has everything that you need. Drumset Full has a lot more tom-toms and auxiliary percussion. I typically use Drumset Basic. Next, let's look at the drum kit where things are placed by Dorico. In the Players panel, click the disclosure arrow and then click the Settings button and edit Percussion Kit. This screen shows white lines, which are ledger lines above the staff. The darker lines are the lines of the treble staff, E, G, B, D, F. So the crash cymbal is on a ledger line above the staff. The hi-hat, played with the sticks, is on the space above the staff. The hi-hat pedal is the space below the staff. The pedal has stems down, hi-hat stems up. These can be adjusted, but for now we'll use the default settings. To enter the drum set, go to Write Mode. Select the bar and click Start Note Input, or use the shortcut Shift-N, and you can just double-click in the bar. Choose the value that you want for the hi-hat. In this case, they are eighth notes. Use the up and down arrow to move to the specific location. Notice that you'll see an indication of what is assigned to that line or space, as well as a sound of that instrument. Use the letter Y to enter the desired sound. Now, if I want to label an X, I can go back to the first note and go over to the Notations panel in the far right of the Dorico window and go down and click on Playing Techniques. Be sure that unpitched percussion is visible, and here's the plus to add the plus. This is a visual reference only because the default sound is closed hi-hat. For the open sound, select the note and in the same panel, find the open sign and click it. This now will play the open hi-hat sound. You can continue to do this for the other notes or select it and use copy and paste, or the shortcut for copy and paste, hold down Alt, Option on Mac, and click the note heads. The playback of this sounds like this. In the example, Weinberg has the pedal hi-hat and the kick drum on beat 1. To enter that, select the first note in the bar, go to note entry, I'm using Shift N, change to a quarter note, typing 6, down arrow until you're at the bottom space, press Y. To add the hi-hat, pedal hi-hat that is, left arrow, down arrow, press Y. You can also enter drum set notation using the drum pads in write mode. To do this, open in write mode the bottom panel and go over to the icons on the left and choose drum pads. You can resize the panel as needed. Start note entry. Here you don't have to move the cursor. You can just go directly to the pad. So if I want to enter the hi-hats with eighth notes, choosing eighth notes, and here's open and closed hi-hat. So if I click each one, notice the playing technique is there and the sound is correct. And if I go back to beat 1, choose a quarter note. If I play the kick drum, which is the bass drum, left arrow over it again and click hi-hat pedal. Keep in mind that if you have a MIDI keyboard and anytime you have multiple notes with the same duration, as in this case, you can just play the notes on the MIDI keyboard. The default setting in Dorico is to treat the lines of the drum set as a treble staff. So if I play D and F on my MIDI keyboard above middle C, I'll get those two. You can also enter these playing techniques with the popover. So first I'm going to remove what's here. I'm selecting the first playing technique, going to edit, select more, and I'll use the shortcut Shift Command A, Shift Control A on Windows to select everything, and then press delete. To use the popover, in the notations panel, click popovers. You can click the icon to open the popover. The plus works well in all versions of Dorico. Shift equals, which is the plus sign, and press return or enter. Again, this is a visual for the percussionist. It does not affect the playback because the sound is already a closed hi-hat. To enter the open, you can do the same thing, same procedure, clicking the icon or use Shift-P, the key command for playing techniques. And here is where the problem comes in for entering this. When I type the word open, notice that there are 6 options in this case of open. And that's because there are various sounds attached to that. For example, if it's a harmonic for a guitar or other instrument I chose the first one, and it's not the correct playback. So this is a Dorico Pro only. If I was using SE or Elements, I would enter the open as we did earlier via the panel and the playing techniques in this situation. If you are using Dorico Pro, you can adjust the popover. So for example here, I'm selecting it. The first time I'm doing it, do it from the panel. And you'll see this is Dorico Pro only, that it has a pencil here to edit the playing technique. This takes us right to unpitched percussion, playing techniques, open. So this is the correct sound. I'm going to add the PERC for percussion and click OK. Now, when I use Shift P and I type open, there is open percussion, and now this will play back. So you can continue using Shift P, type open, and open percussion. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I also like to label X note heads. And the way that I typically do that is by adding a form of staff text called Percussion Legend. And this is necessary, as I mentioned earlier, as X notation in Drumset is not standardized. And some people place the hi-hat in other locations, so it's a good idea the first time a note enters to identify it. So I'm selecting the note in write mode, go to the right menu, go to create text, and choose Percussion Legend. Here, type hi-hat. As soon as you're done typing, press escape. You don't want to press return, or that will add another space to the text box. I could repeat the steps to label pedal hi-hat, and once I label an X note head in the score, I don't label it again and assume the player will be aware of the location of those X note heads. So if you found this video helpful, please click the like button and consider subscribing to our channel.